Welcome to our Jaiva Dharma session. It's Tuesday, 14th of May, 2024, in a beautiful summer's afternoon in Surabhikunj, Godrun Dweep. So we'll chant some Guru mantras and then we'll have Hare Krishna mantra. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dishatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Gaura Prashtaya Bhutale Shri Mad Bhakti Pragyana Keshaviti Namine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ramo, Ramo Ramo, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, O Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, O Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan Jaya Gaura, O Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radha, Madana Mohan Radha, Madana Mohan Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, O Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhava Giri Hare Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaudahari Ki Jai, Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Shri Brishabhana Nandini Vajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Surabhi Kunj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Astotara Shishimat, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Astotara Shishimat, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om, Astotara Shishimat, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tadasara Shishimat Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishodas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Vaishnav Sabhaboma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Barantaracharya Ki Jai. Jai Rasik Surumani Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Treya Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai. Jai Shri Rup Sanatan Shri Bhata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhata Dasa Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai. Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Parsada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sigahol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Antadweep, Mayapur, Simantadweep, Gautramdweep, Madhyadweep, Koladweep, Ritujip, Janadweep, Modamdeep, Rudradweep, Atmaka, Navadweep, Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopiko Govardhan Dwarasa Vardhamatmika, Shri Braja Mandal Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kun Shamakun Ganga Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai. Shri Gopishwa Mahadev Ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai. Kshetra Mandal ki jai, Sarva Vigna Vinasakari Shina Shingadev Bhagavan ki jai, Bhakta Prabha Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Charidham ki jai, Chari Sampradaya ki jai, Chari Acharya ki jai, Akara Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagat Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Om Mirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaya Shri Guruve Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Shwapadantikam Priya Sarupe, Daita Sarupe, Prema Sarupe, Sahaja Rupe, Nijana Rupe, Prabhueka Rupe, Tatana Rupe, Swavila Sarupe, Anapita Chirim Chirat Kurana Varatano Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, Hari Purata Sundarata Tikatamba Sadipita, Sada Hridare Kandare Spuratu Vasachinandanaha. Yam Pravajantam Anapetyam Apaitakrityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Juhava Putre Titam Mayatayo Taravavinidustam Sarvavutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktiya Vihina Aparara Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Taranga Madhye Kripa Mayitvam Sharanam Prapana Prinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Bharadram Tato Mamanasti Gatyena Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam. And first of all, offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela, Pravishna Om, Asto Tarastarasi Shimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times to our most beloved Nitya Leela, Pravishna Om, Asto Tarastarasi Shimad, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And I'm offering the same again to our dearmost Namo Bhakti Vinodaya, Satchidananda Namane, Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Bharaite, and all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord. My Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavyacha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavena Namaha. So, welcome again for just beginning the 18th chapter today. Heavy chapter. It's a good chapter. Okay, so our Falshruti on page 829 today. Pritivitayata kata dharma namachale bhagavata kahi sabha saha sabha paripurnanachale. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as dharma are utterly deceptive. So we've read this so many times over the last months, but to actually read something of the commentary of this verse and just to appreciate how Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's opening out his this Falshruti is like the essence of the essence. It's the distilled essence of this Jaiva Dharma. So it's very pertinent, every single sentence, to take the bhav, the mood that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is presenting. What is the mood that he's presenting? And where is it coming from? What is the authenticity? So right in the first verse, it's Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's mentioning this 1.1.2. Dharma projita kaitavatra parama nirmat saranam shatam. So I want to just read a little bit from Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada's commentary on this beautiful verse. Just a little bit, just to see how in sync Bhaktivinoda Thakur is, or how in sync Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is in with Bhaktivinoda Thakur, that way around. So he's saying in his commentary, in the Vedas, the above mentioned four activities, that's Dharma, Artha, Karma, Moksha, are prescribed in the regulative way so that there will not be any undue competition, this enviousness, undue competition by following Dharma, Artha, Karma, Moksha. If you follow these, then you'll reducing your envious nature just by following those four regulative principles. But it's not taking us to the fifth Purusartha, Nitya Prem. That's the point. Undue competition for sense gratification. But Srimad Bhagavatam is transcendental to all these sense gratificatory activities. It is purely transcendental literature, which can be understood only by the pure devotees of the Lord who are transcendental to competitive sense gratification. So he's put it in context. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is mirroring this mood. That's why he's put this verse here right at the beginning. In the material world, there is keen competition between animal and animal, man and man, community and community, nation and nation. So true. But the devotees of the Lord rise above such competitions. Competitions are about pacification of the false egos, and we want to purify that misconception. They do not compete. They do not compete with the materialists because they are on the path back to Godhead, the devotees, where life is eternal and blissful. Such transcendentalists are non-envious and pure in heart. In the material world, everyone is envious of everyone else, and therefore there is competition. We've said this many times. So this is the first mood he's presenting. This Jaiva Dharma is not about a competitive race or anything of that nature. It's pure, it's transcendental. Everyone, and therefore there is competition. But the transcendental devotees of the Lord are not only free from material envy, but are well wishers of everyone. That's very, very difficult, quite frankly. If someone is very envious of you, how are you going to be their well wisher? Think about Krishna, for example. We have all turned our faces away from him, yet isn't he our well wisher? We're turning away from him, and yet we're expecting him to come and support us. And Guru also, we expect the same. We expect this of the transcendental energy that will always be supportive of us. Even though we are absolute rascals and we've turned away, still we expect that. But what about those who are envious of us personally in this world? Will we also be able to be compassionate towards them? Will we also be able to extend a sympathetic ear and hand to them, support to them? Probably not most of the time. If someone is really trying to stick a knife into you or poke you or disturb you, then our natural conditioned response is just to move away from that person or be aggressive towards that person. But Krishna and the pure devotees, especially Guru, they are not of that caliber because they're not of this world. So right at the very beginning, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is establishing this authenticity of Jaiva Dharma. It's of that caliber. It's of that caliber. It's of the transcendental character. And just let me support this with Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the same verse, because this is so important. This is the first verse of his Falshruti. So in the commentary, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, what action does this work recommend? He's quoting from the verse, Dharma Prochita Kaitavatra, which translates as being the Supreme Lord becomes immediately captured in the heart of the accomplished devotees by hearing Bhagavatam, and even those who have suddenly developed a desire to hear it. So he's saying, what action does this work of the Bhagavatam recommend? It vehemently rejects projita, that path which cheats, which deceives a person from the real goal. In other words, sakam karma is rejected. What is sakam karma? Like Dhruva Maharaj, you perform sa. That prefix sa means with. You do, karma is action. So you're doing some action with an idea of getting some fruit from that action. Now, this is the nature of the material world. This is why we work. We work to get results. No one works without results, except the devotees, materially. So he's saying that sakam karma is rejected. The prefix pra, when it says projita, completely. Projita, completely. This is what he's saying. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting this verse at the very first Valshruti. Completely rejecting, uh, indicates that even the path that promises liberation is also rejected. Dharma, artha, karma, moksha. Even moksha is rejected. This is from the very first mood that he's having. Nishkarm karma yoga, gyan yoga, and the limbs of sense and mind control, and Astanga yoga are also rejected. All of this nimitic rubbish is rejected, but the man who has not been influenced by a mood of devotion is certainly going to be inclined that way. That's why in the last chapter we read, sadhu sangha is so imperative, because it's only the sadhus who don't have that inclination towards fruitive activity or anything in this world at all. Their sights and focus is only on the transcendental world. That's why we must associate with those great saintly personalities. This is clear. Then he's saying, but Paramadam, topmost Dham, pure bhakti yoga is to be performed. This is Nityadam, is to be performed. It is called Parama or supreme because bhakti is the best process, because it gives all type of happiness, material happiness, liberation, and prem. And even though it bestows lesser benedictions, it remains uncontaminated. Thus, this verse indicates the action to be performed, abhideya tattva. So these are just two examples from the Srimad Bhagavatam, from the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, to support the mood of what Bhaktivinoda Thakur is presenting in the first verse of his Falshruti. He's connecting with the authentic scriptures. It's so reassuring when you take to this scripture to know that all these scriptures in existence actually have their connection. They are all being pulled into this Jaiva Dharma. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gave us the Bhagavat Arka Marichi Mala, which was, he describes himself, was inspired by Swarup Damodar, that he should write it to connect the Chatushlokis, the four shlokas of Bhagavatam, with all the other verses in the Bhagavatam. It's so relishable. If you have an attraction for the Bhagavatam, nothing is more relishable than this. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is so absorbed in the Bhagavatam. He gave us the Krishna Samhita also, which is also describing these four Chatushlokis. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's immersion in the Bhagavatam through his other writings is very much apparent. And he's bringing all of that experience into this Jaiva Dharma. So he's making this platform right from the very beginning. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam 112, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as Dharma are utterly deceptive. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has just said the same thing. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in very clear line, they should all be rejected. Both of these acharyas are saying exactly the same thing, because this scripture is all in sync with the purest of script, Shabda Brahman. This scripture is like that. The second verse is like the first verse. Chale dharma chadikara satya dharma gati chaturvagya tyaji dara nitya prema gati. One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and absorb his mind in true dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of prema bhakti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is so kind, he's giving it to us again and again and again. The same message. Don't follow these four traditional principles of material life. For example, material education. Where is it going to get you? People go to these material colleges and universities. Why? Out of competitiveness. They think if they get their MA or their PhD or whatever it is, generally speaking, it's so they'll make some more money. It's so they'll get a decent job. That's why they go. Certainly in India, it's like that. India, it's a big industry now, because all the somewhat bewildered Indians thinking that their kids have to break their necks to get these exams passed, and horrific stories all the way throughout India of suicides and all kinds of things, because they make such a trauma on the kids for these exams. And it's all materially motivated. None of it has any substance in a focus or direction. Previously, 5,000 years ago, when the Ayurvedic science was there, when the Gurukul was there traditionally, the kids, they would hear Bhagavad Gita, they would hear all these authentic scriptures, and they would become enlightened in what is true Dharma, or at least what is material Dharma in it. But today, the Dharma that is propagated is not even true Dharma. The world is round, for example. I mean, many, we should take an injection full of poison or anything, or the hospitals, the way they, anyway, so many deficiencies in this world. And the educational system completely supports the Asuric bhav that is fully prevalent across this is the age of the demons. Kali Yuga is the age of the demons. We need to know that. Don't be a simpleton and think, oh, it's not like that. It is like that. It is the age of the demons. It's saying that actually that the demons in Satya Yuga, they would be in different planets. And then in Treta Yuga, they would be in different countries. And then in Dwapara Yuga, they would be in different bodies. But in Kali Yuga, they're in the same body. We have this potential to bring out this demonic side of ourselves if it's influenced sufficiently. If there's a sufficient influence to pull out this Asuric bhav from us, it'll jump out.
Is the reference for this distinction of that?
In the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's there. It's written clearly. Yes. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada said clearly also the same thing many times, many times. It's understood. It's common knowledge. I've understood this for 25, 30, 40 years. That the demon in this age, the demon and the deva are residing in the same body. It's called tatashta. We've discussed it. We've been through it. But in this age, what is most wonderful is that it's brought to the surface because it's most acute in this age. In the previous ages, it could be somewhat suppressed. But after 5,000, from 5,000 years on to now, when Kali Maharaj made his advent, then immediately all these very powerful demonic influences began to spread in the planet. And all the governments are all connected, etc. And the kids are just following along according to the Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada used to call it slaughterhouse education. That's what they're doing. Training the kids to kill, eat meat, fight, and competitive mood, not following Nitya Prem. Amitva mimam sabrame nija jate buddhi, nirvishesha brahm gyan nahi chita shuddhi. Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter. See, this is what needs to be educated. So you're not identifying just with matter. That is their error. However, one cannot be purified of such delusion by endeavors for nirvishesh brahm gyan. Nirvishesh brahm gyan is like the conclusion of these four purusarthas, moksha. Moksha is nirvishesh brahm gyan. So if you follow these four purusarthas, dharma, artha, karma, and moksha, then if you attain moksha, it's no different to nirvishesh brahm gyan. So where is your even smell of transcendence? Ivitrata hina hale nirvishesha hoy, kala simutalya seya aprakrita noy. The Mayavadi thinks Sri Krishna to be subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental. He has no faith in the Lord. What we've said constantly in the last few weeks with these three Jiva chapters is we're understanding the insignificant position of the Jiva in comparison with the complete Purna, full condition of Krishna. This one point, if the Jiva can understand this one point more each day, then his progress is going to be assured. Krishna is the supreme. He is in, it's his world. He made it. Why should we put demands on Krishna? Why should we think that it should be like this or shouldn't be like that? It's his world. We should live here according to his precepts. And then we will be completely happy, not only happy, but totally blissful. But we don't do it because we're ignorant, stupid fools. That's the truth. Thus, he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and lila. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of Nirvishesh Brahm. That's all he's left with. Kanda gyan hoye dharma ache sunishchaya, prakriti hoila kabu aprakrita noya. Such base and contemptible gyan, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, is only fit to be rejected. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as aprakata. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, each time I read this, I'm just astonished at his immense compassion that he should say it so many times in so many different ways. He's pleading. It's almost as if he's on his knees pleading with us. Please reject this Mayic influence that we've all been subjected to and take to the high road. And he's showing the high road again and again and again. So now we come to our 18th chapter. So we need a drum roll. 18th chapter is very intense, very dense, very potent philosophy. I just want to say at the beginning, don't become bewildered or disheartened at any point in the chapter thinking that you don't understand it, because remarkably, as the chapter thickens, it becomes more simplistic. Towards the very end of the chapter, it's as if Bhaktivinoda Thakur is collecting all the loose ends and just putting them in a very simple format for us to digest. So he's opening the whole topic out of Mayavad, of Vivartavad, Parinamvad, etc. And then he's going to bring it all together very, very simply. So don't be intimidated by the language at any point. So, but it is a dense chapter. It is incredibly powerful, beautiful chapter. It's the philosophy of Sachinandan Gaurahari, this Veda Abed Tattva. This is his philosophy. So now we're fully in the mood of Sachinandan Gaurahari. So chapter 18, Prameya Veda Abed Tattva. Vaini Madhav had a wicked mind. So we remember about Vaini Madhav from the previous chapter, trying to rearrange Brajanath's marriage, and then Brajanath rejecting him fully, realizing what he was up to, what he was doing. Vaini Madhav had a wicked mind. Thus, when Brajanath scorned him, he decided to seek revenge by teaching Brajanath and the Mayapur Vaishnavas a lesson. Bhaktivinoda Thakur brings in, this is such a holistic process. He brings in so many different characters, so many different so many different scenarios, because this is life. It's not just life sitting on a pink cloud and oh, it's just all sweet honey, and as if we're just all in another dimension. We are in this material world, and we have to navigate through it with our various karmas, etc. We have to go through that. So he's throwing out all the different scenarios that we might have to confront. It's fascinating.
He himself lived a real life.
That's the point. That's the point. Yes, such a real life. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. A householder with what? 12 children. A magistrate, enormous responsibilities, writing so many books, preaching on the circuit, visiting holy places, counseling, so many areas he attended to. It's impossible. He's Gora Shakti. He's the Shakti of Gora, which means he's empowered by Swarup Shakti to perform, like Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada also operated on so many different levels when he had a huge, enormous society and had to deal with so many problems day by day, plus acquiring land, plus producing books, plus encouraging the Sankirtan, so many different things. Just their extraordinary capacity just expands. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was definitely in that caliber. Yes. So Vaini Madhav made a plan with some like-minded friends that when Brajanath returned from Mayapur, they would surround him in a secluded place near Lakshman Hill and give him a sound thrashing. This happens in India. It's not surprise. I mean, happens every single day in India. These sorts of things happen. Perhaps it happens in the West as much. I'm not sure, but certainly it happens here. Somehow or other, Brajanath got wind of all this. Yeah, and that's the way it works in India too. You kind of get wind of these things. There's always someone who's going to talk about it. So you'll get to know what's happening. And consulted with Babaji. They agreed that he would come to Mayapur less frequently, and then only during the day, and accompanied by a bodyguard. Brajanath had some tenants in the village, amongst whom Harish was expert at stick fighting. One day Brajanath called him and made a request. He said, Harish, I'm having a little difficulty these days, but if you help me, I might have a way out. Harish said, Thakur, I can lay down my life for you. I will kill your enemy today if you tell me. This is like bravado talk from a lower caste man. He will always do like this, always speak very loudly about what he's going to do. The actuality is always different.
Mm.
Brajanath replied, Veni Madhav. Oh, Harish said, Thakur, I can later. I will kill your enemy today if you tell me. Brajanath replied, Veni Madhav is a very wicked man, and he means to cause me some trouble. He is creating so much disturbance that I dare not go to visit the Vaishnavas in Srivasangam. He has arranged with some of his devious friends to create trouble for me on my way home. Harish became disturbed when he heard this, and he replied, Thakur, as long as there is breath in my body, you need have no fear. It looks that this stick of mine will soon come to good use against Veni Madhav. Just take me along with you whenever you go to Mayapur, and I will handle 100 opponents by myself. After Brajanath had made this arrangement with Harish, he resumed his visits to Mayapur every second or fourth day, but he could not stay late. Yet he remained dissatisfied within himself when he could not discuss tattva. So obviously their exchanges were very much limited to the time of day, and perhaps Babaji's duties also at that time. After some 10 or 20 days had passed in this way, the wicked Veni Madhav was bitten by a snake and died. When Brajanath heard the news, he wondered, did he meet such a fate because of his envy of the Vaishnavas? Then he concluded his allotted lifespan had finished, and so he died. I think that's very significant, that Brajanath doesn't dwell on the fact that Veni Madhav was actually offensive to the Vaishnavas. He quickly is soft-hearted and thinks that his allotted lifespan had finished. His initial thought, yes, he's attacking the Vaishnava, but in second thoughts, he was thinking no. So I think personally that's significant because Babaji has the same response also. Adya vaba santante va mrityu vai parinam dhruvaha. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:138. Did I read everything? Yeah. Yeah. One may die today or after 100 or after hundreds of years, but death is sure for every living entity. This is the eternal truth. So Brajanath is thinking like that. He's in an eternal vision. He's not caught up, in other words, in Gramya Katha or sensationalizing some incident in the world. He's, he's a qualified person. We've discussed already, described. Now Brajanath is thinking, now my path to Srivasangan in Mayapur is clear. That day Brajanath reached Srivasangan a little after dusk. He offered obeisances to Raghunath Das Babaji and said, from today I will be able to come to serve your lotus feet every day, for the obstacle in the form of Vedi Madhav has left this world. At first, the soft-hearted Babaji became a little disturbed on hearing about the death of this spiritually unconscious person, Anudita Vivek Jiva. Same mood as, Brajanath went the other way around. First of all, he condemned, and then he became soft-hearted. But Babaji at the beginning is soft-hearted. Then he calmed himself and said, Swakarma fal buk pumam. Everyone enjoys or suffers the result of his karma. The jiva belongs to Krishna, and he will go wherever Krishna sends him. Anyway, Baba, I hope you have no other anxiety. So they very quickly climb over this obstacle. They're not going to sit around and talk about it. It's just not necessary. Brajanath, um, I hope you have no other anxiety, says Baba. Brajanath, only one. I have missed hearing your nectarian talks all these days. Today I want to hear the remaining instructions on Das Mula. Babaji, I am always available for you. Now, where did we stop last time? Are there any questions in your heart after our last conversation? Brajanath, what is the name of Sri Gorkishore's pure and invaluable philosophical teachings? The previous acharyas have established the philosophies of Advaitavad, exclusive monism, Dvaitavad, dualism, Shuddhadvaitavad, purified non-dualism, Vaishisht Advaitavad, specialized non-dualism, and Dvaitavad, dualism with monism. So, just to clarify this, it's described that in the Sri Sampradaya, this is Vaishisht Advaitavad. This is going to be described in the next page, but I'm just saying it before. Vaishisht means a speciality in the oneness, because previously it was Sankaracharya Advaitavad, but then Vaishisht Advaitavad is like almost like a soft cell um, re um, programming of the people into the correct school of thought. The Sri Sampradaya is the initial Sampradaya, the first Sampradaya, Ramanuja. This is about 1037, Ramanuja Acharya. And he preached this Vaishisht Advaitavad. There's a speciality within the oneness. In other words, it's not just all Mayavad, which is what Sankaracharya was propagating, that Advaitavad. It's Sankaracharya, for his purpose in bringing the Vedic teachings back into India after they'd been pushed out by the Buddhistic philosophy, which is also a Mayavad philosophy. But he preached the same Mayavadi philosophy to hold those followers, to give them confidence. He's preached the same Advaita philosophy. But then Ramanuja, he said, no, it's not all one. There's a speciality in the oneness. In other words, there's the Jiva and Krishna. There's a distinction between them. And then Madhavacharya came, the second one. And then his philosophy is called Dvaitavad. This is the dualistic. No, he says there's two. And you always see Madhava holding up two fingers. Very distinct. So Ramanuja was like initiating it. And then Madhavacharya, 100 years later, was substantiating it fully, clearly. And Madhavacharya also introduced the Murti to purify the whole misconceptions. So, and then there is the Rudra Sampradaya. This is Shuddha Advaita. This is purified dualism. So now it's becoming even more pure.
Non-dualism.
Oh,
In the book it says non-dualism.
specialized non-dualism. Okay. No. Yes.
Purified non-dualism.
Okay. And then Dvaita Dvaitavad, dualism. This is going to be discussed on the next couple of pages, so I won't preempt. We'll just carry through. And but the Rudra Sampradaya brought it even more into this distinction, and the Kurma Sampradaya brought it even, said actually worship of the gopis should be there, but they didn't have the understanding of what is Parakiya Bhav. That was an ingredient they didn't have, which doesn't really take you into Brajadam. Without Parakiya Bhav fully exposed and understood, and only Mahaprabhu could do that, then it's somewhat deficient. All the Sampradayas had something missing. And in principle, all the Sampradayas, which is going to be explained, but I'm just preempting here to give us something of an idea where we're going, were believing in what was called Vastu Parinamvad. Vastu is Krishna. Krishna is the Vastu, and he is transforming into the worlds. Everything is emanating from him, and he is transforming. But Mahaprabhu, he came, no, it's not Krishna It's not the Vastu Parinambad, it is Shakti Parinambad. It's that Shakti, Swarup Shakti, that is transforming. So that's the principle. Now, when we've got the principle, then we can understand more of the details. So we'll read on from there. So his question is, has Gauranga accepted any of these, or has he founded a different philosophical school? When you were instructing me about the system of Sampradaya, you said that Sri Gauranga belongs to the Brahma Sampradaya. In that case, should we consider him to be an Acharya of Madhvacharya's Dvaitavad? Babaji, you should hear the 8th shlok of Dasmula. Now, as we've said a number of times, why isn't this working very well? These Dashmula sloks are so enlightening because they give us the seed of the whole chapter we're going to unpack. Each Dasmula slokas, because when we've been reiterating the chapters, we just need to read the Dasmula and then we completely get an idea, an understanding of what has gone on in the chapter. Hari Shakti Sarvam Chit Achit Akilam Syat Parinat Parinita Nata Nati Vivartam no Satyam Shrutim iti Virudam Kali Malam Harer Veda Bedo Shruti Vihati Tattvam Suvimilam Tata Prema Shidir Bhavati Nitaram Nitya Vishaye. This is Dasmul 8. The entire spiritual and material creation is a transformation of Krishna's Shakti. This is what I've just explained 2 minutes ago. I said the same thing. So this is what this chapter's going to substantiate, that it's the Shakti, not Krishna. Krishna is not doing anything. So we have to understand this dynamic. Most of this was actually begun to be opened in the 14th chapter. Shakti Tattva is so important. This 14th chapter is paramount. And then from the 14th chapter, we've had 3 on the Jiva to get the balance between Krishna and the Jiva. And now we're reconciling the relationship between the Jiva and Krishna. This understanding will give us the focus of how is that sambandha going to be effective. The Jiva has the same qualities in a minute form as Krishna has as the complete. So therefore, they are one, that they were talked about as being one by Sankaracharya, but now the reality is being placed that no, they're 2 distinct, as the other Sampradaya Acharyas have substantiated. But there's intricacies within their Sampradayas that only Mahaprabhu himself could actually purify. And all of this highlights the speciality of Mahaprabhu and his gifts to this world. He is purifying all the Sampradayas. Because Brajanath's question is, what is, has he founded a different philosophical school? No, Mahaprabhu has actually come into this Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, but he's purifying all the Sampradayas simultaneously. The entire spiritual and material creation is a transformation of Krishna's Shakti. Shakti Parinamba. Try to remember some of these terminologies. It'll make it a lot easier when we go through. The impersonal philosophy of illusion, Vivartavad, is not true. It's not true. This Vivartavad. This was what Sankaracharya propagated, this idea, and it'll be explained. This Vivartavad, this illusion, that God is in illusion about his own being, etc. This is what it essentially amounts to, that God himself. And another thing I just want to mention here, in this chapter, the word Brahm is meaning Krishna. It's meaning the entirety of creation. Sometimes, according to the context, it might mean the Brahmajyoti, and sometimes it might mean the entirety of creation, and sometimes it means individually the Supreme Lord. So Brahm has a very large, what do you call it? context or understanding that we can appreciate. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he used the word Brahmand to make it more simple for us. But here it's in its original um, written as Brahm. So just to remember this. Um, it is an impurity that has been produced by Kali Yuga. Oh, are we surprised when we've just unveiled a little bit of the nature of this Asuric world, Kali Yuga? So what is this Asuric bhav that's in Kali Yuga? Is this Vivartavad, this Mayavad, is so strong. Mayavad essentially means that you want to enjoy Krishna's world. It's Krishna's world, and our duty is to serve his world, not to exploit his world. If we try to exploit it, we're going to suffer. We've already discussed all these in the 3 chapters on Jiva Tattva. It is an impurity that has been produced by Kali Yuga, and it is contrary to the teachings of the Vedas. The Vedas support Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, inconceivable oneness and difference, as the pure and absolute doctrine. Inconceivable oneness and difference. Jiva is Anuchit and Krishna is Vibhuchit, but Jiva has the same constitutional essence as the Vibhuchit, but in infinitesimal proportion to the Supreme Lord. We've said this almost every day, to consider the insignificance of the Jiva in comparison to the complete fullness of Krishna. And we've discussed even the 10 similarities between the Jiva and Krishna, just to make it clear. But it's inconceivable. It's inconceivable because it's beyond the conditioned soul's thought and process. I was just reading today how in the Manu Samhita it's saying that one should not debate or argue anything that is beyond thought. In other words, that has words and logic, etc. But the conclusion is beyond that, then this shouldn't be attempted to be debated or argued over because we don't know. We should wait for the truth to descend in the heart with realization and practice. And we also said the other day, and this is from the Vedanta Sutra, and the verse is Tarak Pratishtam Anato. That's the verse. And it means that when the Lord's inspiration comes in the heart of the sadhak, the mind knows, the heart feels, and the soul celebrates. So it's automatic. It's automatic according to our sadhan bhajan. And the sadhan is to connect in sambandha to the Supreme Lord in prayer, in devotion. This is what our sadhan is about, devotion. Our devotion to our chanting, our devotion to our sevas, etc. So that mood of devotion is going to make the sambandha. It's very simple, but we can't do it.
But I don't understand. So we should follow that. That we should not discuss, or
No, we should not discuss things that are beyond thought. You can talk with a similar person who has the same understanding, but to argue, no, it's saying specifically to argue or debate,
argue.
to debate things beyond our comprehension.
Discuss is a different thing.
Discussing is a different thing that you can discuss it, but why should we discuss something that's beyond our intelligence? We can read Shastra and wait for the appreciation and understanding to come in the consciousness, which it will by Krishna's mercy. But if you discuss and discuss, that's not necessarily going to. No, it's not discussing that's mentioned in the Manusamhita.
Okay.
It's arguing and debating.
Okay.
Like we see sometimes some debates go on.
Yeah.
And, was Prabhupada a Saki or was he a Manjari or a Sakiras? We don't know these things. Unless you've got concrete evidence, then shut up and listen to the acharyas, what they have to say, and then don't try and make up some philosophy about it or some contention with it, because it's beyond our thought. Understand?
Yeah.
Do you agree? Okay.
But you often say that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was Manjari, just like all the
100%.
nine.
Because my Gurudeva said so, because
Oh,
he's
okay,
the
that's the
authority.
concrete evidence.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And his name is given and everything. The different acharyas have given conclusively. But there are some who don't agree with the acharyas and they want to make debate about it. And
Mm,
lots of people like to have debate about it
mm,
because perhaps they've got some material intelligence and it gives them a chance to exhibit their material intelligence in some form. But it doesn't bring the truth.
yeah.
The point is, the truth is what we're interested in.
Mm,
And the truth is what is spoken by the sages and the rishis.
mm,
So this Das Mula is presenting the truth, the authenticity. We love the truth, and there's no argument about that. The the Vedas support Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, inconceivable oneness and difference, as the pure and absolute doctrine, and one can attain perfect love for the eternal absolute when he accepts this principle. Isn't that our goal? To attain love, perfect love for the eternal absolute? If that's our goal, genuinely, which has nothing to do with this material world at all, it's an internal connection, then one will accept this principle. That's called Sharnagat. This is the process of Sharnagat. What does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? Sarva dharmam parityaja mam ekam sharanam brajam aham tam sarva pyapabhyo moksha yishyami masucha. Don't worry, masuchaha. Just abandon all varieties of
mm,
religion and just serve me. He's saying like that. All scripture are saying the same thing, but because of our deluded mentalities caused by the negative environment and the Mayavad atmospheres that we live in, only in this age of Kali it's like that, to such a degree, where almost the whole populace are bewildered. The whole populace are agreeing with this slaughterhouse education, slaughterhouse governments. What do the governments propagate principally? Economic development, make money. So to make money, you have to go to a school and you have to get this competitive exam, etc. This is the most important thing in life. And even devotees, qualified devotees, send their children there. So many, so many, believing that that is going to make the child happy, because actually the devotee hasn't purified this misconception themselves. They think that material acquisition is going to produce happiness. But we've seen it. Haven't we seen it in our lives? So many rich and famous apparent people. Are they happy? Practically never. But others become envious of that. They think that they would be happy. Anyway, so that's an old story. The conclusive teachings. Okay, now we've spoken the Das Mula.
Can I ask one question? So, how to understand that before Mahaprabhu came, none of these very exalted Vaishnavas ha- um, had the Achintya Bheda Bheda philosophy. What was it? Was it
Because,
never known before
no,
Lord Chaitanya?
practically not. Practically not. Just like Raganuga Bhakti was there by some greatly potent personalities, some Siddha Purushas. Of course, it's always there, but to a minimal degree. We even read in Bhagavatam, Queen Kunti, she couldn't understand how Krishna was being bound by Mother Yashoda. She couldn't understand this Madhurya Bhav. Nobody could. Krishna didn't come to explain his Madhurya Bhav. He came, Yadai Prityanaya Sadhanam, Vinashayatadus. He came to kill the warring Kshatriya armies. That was the purpose of his. And he's called Leela Purushottam. He just enjoys his own Leelas.
Mm-hmm.
But Mahaprabhu specifically has come to give Prem Purushottam. So this Prem Purushottam, this is what Mahaprabhu this is why Mahaprabhu is such an exceptional tattva. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about Mahaprabhu's tattva. So he had to purify all the sampradayas and get them, because they didn't have it, the essential truth complete, even though they're great personalities. But remember, all of the personalities Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes in Navadvip Mahatmya, that Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, uh, Vishnu Swami, and Nimbaditya, they all met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All of them met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All of them met him prior to Mahaprabhu's advent. And they all understood what was Mahaprabhu's final conclusion. And Mahaprabhu cautioned them all, don't talk about this now. This is not the time to actually open the box right now. I will open the box myself. Mahaprabhu himself, Krishna himself, will actually explain. It's so subtle that the jiva has to accept that God has many, many lovers who are wives of other people. This goes against the grain of material dharma as strongly as you can possibly have it. It's condoning this um, activity of a woman's unchasteness. And we know that the chastity of a woman creates the strength in a society. And yet this example of Krishna goes completely contrary to that. How are we going to assimilate that teaching? Because without Parakya Bhav fully explained, you cannot enter into the mood of Vrindavan. Because the gopis hold the highest conception of love for Krishna. No one in existence has more love for Krishna than the gopis, headed by Sri Radhika. And this was not common at all. Even after Mahaprabhu came, we've spoken before, when in Jaipur, they wanted to install, the king there wanted to install Radha and Govinda. And the Smartas, the Ramanujas, they said, no, no, who is this Radha? Where is your evidence? Where is your Basya? And then they called Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but he was too invalid. And then Baladev Vidyabhushan went and he wrote the Govinda Basya to substantiate, to give evidence that Radhika can stand beside Krishna. And this was what in, um, um, this was like 200 years after Mahaprabhu. So when is that? 1700s, yes, 1700s. So this only was sort of like put in the world at that time. So we must appreciate how, because we have been brought up with it from the beginning of our devotional service. So we accept it, like, just pass me the salt or pass me the water. Tell me about Parakira, Radha and Krishna and the gopis. We've heard about it. So we've become, purified sufficiently to accept this. But more than that, we've had the influence of the Mahamantra, which perhaps we don't fully appreciate. It's the influence of the Mahamantra that has enabled us to accept it so easily. If we weren't vibrating that Mahamantra, it would be very hard for us to accept Parakya Bhav. The Mahamantra has also been there previously, but it was never empowered the way that Mahaprabhu has empowered it. Mahaprabhu speaks extensively and demonstrates in his own Leela about meeting and separation. This was never on the table previously to Mahaprabhu, practically. We have Jaidev Goswami in the 13th century, but he could not write that Radhika is putting her, Krishna is putting his flute and peacock feather, the lotus feet. What's that? Manasi Mandaram, Dehi Pala Palavam, Udaram. This verse that Jaidev Goswami couldn't write himself. How does that verse start off? Smaragarala Kandanam, Dehi Pada Palavam, Udaram. This verse, I didn't say it all. I'll think of it in a minute. He couldn't write it himself. Krishna had to come and write that verse. And Jaidev Goswami was such a great, eloquent saint in the court of King Akbar in that time. But he couldn't appreciate because Mahaprabhu had not advented yet. So Krishna, by his potency, he gives us the or the um, ability, the what? The realization. He gives us that. Directly, Krishna is giving us that realization in our hearts to accept parakya. It's coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's coming from him that we can accept it comfortably and not think, I'm not going to believe in that God. He's dancing with other men's wives. You know, it's a very, very subtle truth that he's come to propagate.
Krishna is the one who reveals.
Well, Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. Krishna himself is coming to expose the reality of the gopis' prem. And previously, the gopis weren't even accepted as Krishna's beloveds. How can they be? They're married to other men. Mother Yashoda wouldn't even think about it. The respectable people of Vrindavan didn't even know that their daughters were all going to the forest late at night and dancing with this beautiful boy. At the very end, Jiva Goswami explains in his Gopal Champu that they did. But principally, they didn't. But this is a very, 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 very confidential pastime, giving us the entrance into Madhurya Dham. So Ramanuja wasn't entrusted for that. Baladev, Nityananda wasn't entrusted. He was entrusted for Shuddha Bhakti. And Madhavacharya also the same, for powerful distinction between the Jiva and Krishna, worship, and Ballabha Acharya, the same, but more close to the gopis, but not understanding Parakya. And Nimbaditya, also very, very powerful personality. But as I said at the beginning of this, what I was just saying now, they all had darshan of Mahaprabhu, all of them. And Mahaprabhu rectified or purified, gave the additions to their sampradayas. Because we talked in the 13th chapter about the need for a sampradaya. If there's no sampradaya, there's no authentic lineage, there's no authentic dynasty. Where will a sensitive, focused sadhak put his heart? Because we have to put our heart into these things. If we're not putting our heart, just our brains, our minds, our little minds, that's not going to be sufficient for realization. The full self has to be absorbed with full attention, and then only can that complete shraddha manifest. It can't be half-baked, can it? We have to have the full thing. You have to have full confidence, full faith. So listen, we didn't discuss very much of this chapter, but we did lay a good platform. I'm very satisfied actually, because today we've laid a good solid platform. This is a powerful chapter. Believe me, it's a pivotal chapter. It's very intricate with many aspects of this truth. But we'll continue tomorrow because our time is over. I'm going to just read this one paragraph because even though we're a little bit over, the conclusive teachings of the Upanishads are known as Vedanta, and in order to bring their precise meaning to light, Vyasadeva compiled a book of 4 chapters called Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra. The Vedanta commands great respect amongst the intellectual class. In principle, Vedanta Sutra is widely accepted as the proper exposition of the truths taught in the Vedas. From this Vedanta Sutra, the different acharyas extract different conclusions, which are just suitable to support their own philosophies. Now we're going to talk about Sankaracharya and Madhavacharya and the different personalities. So tomorrow we'll go there. Jaiva Dharma ki jai. Achintya, inconceivable oneness and difference. Ki jai. Shri Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Vacha, Patitanam Pavanavyo, Vaishnave Namo Namaha.